Hey everyone, a major warming trend is developing across North America that will bring the warmest temperatures since December, believe it or not. We're going to see a quiet weather pattern turn very active, especially as we move into early March with additional winter storm potential. Winter is not over. Don't put your snow shovels and snow boots away just yet. If you live in the northern and northeastern U.S., you could still experience winter storm conditions into March. Now let's take a detailed look at our temperature outlook. On this last day of the weekend, Sunday, February 23rd, notice the prevalence of orange and red on the maps in contrast to the blues, purples, and pinks we saw just a few days ago. This indicates that a warm trend is underway, especially across the western half of the United States and into Canada. Here are the high temperatures across the central U.S., known as the Heartland. As we move into this afternoon, notice that the 60-degree and 50-degree temperature lines extend all the way into the Dakotas, especially South Dakota, and into parts of Nebraska and Iowa. It's a little bit cooler further east in areas such as the Madison, Wisconsin area, Green Bay, Milwaukee, and along the Chicago lakefront. Over in Michigan in the Grand Rapids area, cooler lake waters keep temperatures near the freezing mark. Even so, this will be a much warmer day compared to what we've experienced recently. As we head into the morning hours to start the work week on Monday, February 24th, temperatures won't drop significantly. Many of you are waking up to temperatures in the low to mid 30s and in many areas above freezing, which will help work on our snowpack and begin melting some of the snow from our recent winter storms. Let's now examine the western U.S. The same situation applies here, particularly in Southern California, as well as in Arizona, New Mexico, and Southern Nevada. Many areas are expected to reach the 60s and 70s, with even a few spots in far Southern California and the desert regions of Southwest Arizona reaching the 80s this afternoon. Up in Montana, temperatures will be around 40 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Believe it or not, just a few days ago, wind chills in these areas were as low as 40 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit below zero. What a turnaround. This afternoon, temperatures will rise into the 40s and 50s with a similar trend in Wyoming, where readings are expected in the 50s. Looking ahead to Monday morning, February 24th, temperatures will not drop significantly. In eastern Montana, temperatures will fall into the mid-30s, around 40 degrees Fahrenheit in eastern Wyoming and parts of Colorado, while Southern California, Southern Nevada, Arizona, and parts of New Mexico will see temperatures in the 50s and 60s. How about the eastern U.S.? Here are the high temperatures for this Sunday afternoon, February 23rd. The coldest areas where a denser snowpack is present in Maine, northern New Hampshire, Vermont, and upstate New York remain below freezing with temperatures in the mid to upper 20s. However, as the snow begins to melt, the interior of the Northeast should warm gradually. Further south, in the Southeast, such as the Carolinas, especially the Eastern Carolinas, Georgia, and down into Florida, temperatures in the 60s and 70s are expected, with some areas like Naples possibly reaching 80 degrees Fahrenheit this afternoon. On Monday morning, you can still see the dense snowpack in areas like Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, New York, and even parts of Massachusetts, keeping temperatures in the single digits, either above or below zero, with wind chills likely dropping even further. In contrast, a warmer trend is developing across the Mid-Atlantic and Ohio Valley, where temperatures will start in the 20s and 30s, and further south along the Gulf Coast and into Florida, where temperatures are expected to be in the 40s, 50s, and 60s to kick off the work week. Now let's discuss the two storm systems we're monitoring in detail. While the Midwest, Great Lakes, and much of the Northeast remain relatively quiet as we end the weekend, we are tracking some rain moving in across the Pacific Northwest. In higher elevations, this will mix with snowfall in parts of Idaho and western Montana. Additionally, heavier rains and some general thunderstorm activity are expected along the Gulf Coast, from New Orleans to Hattiesburg, up to Jackson, Mississippi, from Mobile over to Panama City this afternoon. The heavy rain along the Gulf Coast will remain nearly parallel as it moves from west to east. resulting in an unsettled day across portions of New Orleans, Jackson, the Gulfport area, Mobile, Tallahassee, and Panama City. Expect intermittent rainfall and low clouds. A perfect day to stay indoors and enjoy a movie. Finally, in the Pacific Northwest, a substantial amount of rainfall is moving in, a veritable fire hose of moisture across Washington state, Oregon, and into Idaho. In the Pacific Northwest, you can see a lot of rainfall moving in, a veritable fire hose of moisture sweeping across Washington state, Oregon, and into Idaho, and then reaching the higher elevations of Idaho and western Montana. In addition, heavier snow is expected in western parts of Wyoming and northern Utah this evening, carrying over into Monday. There will also be a clipper system to watch, delivering a glancing blow of heavier snow. Most of the snow will remain on the Canadian side over into Ontario, although some rainfall or a wintry mix is possible in the upper peninsula of Michigan and northern lower Michigan on Monday morning. As for severe weather, we aren't anticipating any outbreaks. The lighter greens on the maps indicate general garden variety thunderstorms. A similar pattern is expected in the Pacific Northwest today and into tomorrow. In South Florida, heavy rain and non-severe thunderstorm activity are anticipated, while areas from Seattle and Portland down to Eugene and Medford could see some heavier thunderstorms, again non-severe, on Monday. Here's the precipitation forecast for the next 24 hours across the United States. The heaviest amounts are expected in the Pacific Northwest and near the Gulf Coast, extending into Florida. In the Pacific Northwest, heavy rainfall is expected from Seattle down to Portland, Eugene, and Medford, and even extending into northwestern California. Much of that moisture is expected to trickle into portions of Idaho and western Montana, with totals ranging from 1 to 3 inches, and some isolated totals up to 6 inches through Monday. In higher elevations, there is the potential for 36 to 48 inches of snow, that is 3 to 4 feet, across parts of Idaho, western Montana, western Wyoming, and northern Utah through Monday. Thunderstorms are also moving parallel from west to east along the Gulf Coast, from New Orleans and Hattiesburg up to Jackson, Mississippi, and Gulfport, Mississippi, then into the Mobile area, Panama City, Tallahassee, and perhaps as far east as Tampa Bay. In these areas, heavy rainfall of 1 to 3 inches is possible, with the heaviest amounts around New Orleans, potentially leading to isolated flash flooding and water ponding on roadways. Looking ahead to next week, from Monday, February 24th through Friday, February 28th, a big ridge of high pressure across the west will promote warmer temperatures as we move into the weekend. In contrast, a slight trough across the eastern U.S. will result in cooler temperatures, though warming is still expected. On the temperature anomaly map, the prevalence of orange and red indicates above normal temperatures as we finish February. Also, notice our storm track shown in blue. This trough is located in the Northeast Pacific and the Aleutian Islands in Alaska. Over the apex of the ridge, the storm track will slide from northwest to southeast, moving from southern Canada into the Great Lakes and the Northeast before lifting over the ridge in the North Atlantic. Meanwhile, the polar vortex that had been bringing in cold air is finally retreating further north. Examining the precipitation anomalies reveals a lot of green over Canada and the northern tier of the U.S., with brown on the downwind side of the ridge where moisture is scarce behind today's rain system. Along the Gulf Coast from Florida northward, the system will begin drying out. However, Florida, especially South Florida, Miami, and Key West, as well as areas toward Naples, Fort Myers, and even Fort Lauderdale, could see some pretty heavy rain as the week progresses. The European model also shows the potential for clipper systems to bring rain and snow showers to southern Canada and the northern tier of the United States, along with some heavy rain in south central Florida on Monday. Moving into Tuesday, a surge of energy across southern Canada and the northern tier of the United States could bring a rain or snow mix every 1 to 3 days. Some areas may receive all snow, others all rain, and some a combination of both. Then on Thursday, a larger system may develop in the northeast, even though a lot of dry air is present, with a clipper system from Manitoba and Ontario potentially delivering a couple of inches of snow to close out the work week on Friday, February 28th. Looking ahead to early March, expect a slight cool down. Don't put your snow boots, winter coats, or snow shovels away just yet. Just yet. I think the cooler air across the eastern, especially the northeast United States toward the Great Lakes, is holding on for now. The Great Lakes region is cooler right now and will remain cool into early March, with a ridge spiking in western Canada that will promote cooler temperatures across the east. Notice that while the map doesn't show widespread blue, which would indicate below normal temperatures, there is some blue present, meaning there will be periods of colder weather into early March. We're likely to experience a lot of variability. There might be a couple of warmer days and a couple of colder days. And overall, the temperatures should average out during the first 7 days of March. A very active pattern is evident on the longer range ensemble guidance with a lot of green, a signal favored in the central and eastern U.S., as well as eastern and southeastern Canada. There is also a tendency for at least normal to below normal precipitation from southeast Texas, rounding up across the western U.S. and into British Columbia, where it has been very wet as of late. Possible scenarios for early March. Looking at the European model for Saturday, March 1st, we see a clipper system moving across Ontario and Quebec with mostly snow there, a wintry mix in the upper Great Lakes region, and then rain down toward Pennsylvania. This isn't a firm forecast, but rather a trend we're observing. Then as we move into Sunday, a larger system is trying to develop in the heartland of the country, either Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday of that week. This could bring the first significant severe weather chance of March down across the deep south during the 4th, 5th, and 6th time frames of March. We might see a winter storm on the northern side, which would push further east, resulting in mostly coastal rain on the European model and wraparound snow on the backside to end that week. Stay safe, everyone. I'll be back with another update tomorrow. We could see another major snowstorm in early March, so stay tuned.